here we have all of the points of the star have now been appropriately colored. Actually, I can see there's a mistake right here. So I'm just going to go back in here and choose the proper color right here. Good. Okay, so Command S for save, and then the next part of this exercise will be we'll go to step 40, make the circles layer visible. So our rings layer is now empty because those rings were a copy of the circles, but they were used for the divide process using the Pathfinder tool, and all of those objects are now gone. We could effectively just delete that layer and then turn on the circles layer. So now the circles layer needs to be at the top of the layers palette, or at least above the star layer. So I'm going to click and drag on this layer. Oops. And it should highlight a line right above star. And now those circles are on top of the color circle. So now I'm going to option click on the layer to select all the circle objects. All right, so Command 0 just to center again. And then option click on the circles. So that selects all of the circle objects. And I can open up that layer and see all of those ellipses are selected. So that's what I want. Set the stroke properties to 0.5 points in weight. So click on the stroke tab to activate the stroke palette, and then change the weight to 0.5, weight, enter. Then we want a round cap. So click on this round cap icon here. We want a dashed line, so turn on the dashed line checkbox. So for the first field, type in 0, 0, and then tab. For the second field, type in 2, and then tab. Now, view the attributes palette and check the overprint stroke setting. So what that's going to do is this black stroke, at the moment, because it's not overprinting, is actually going to knock out the colors underneath of it. What we want it to do is actually overprint, because that's going to solve the problem of trying to precisely align the color plates on the press. And if you had black that was trying to align exactly with the white dots that were being knocked out of the color underneath, that would cause a huge problem for the printer. So it would be much easier if we were to just set it to overprint and the black would just overlay right on top of all the other colors. That is going to be much simpler for the people working on the press, and they won't be swearing at you. All right, so we can complete the chart by adding 12 point by 12 point squares on either side of the color rectangles. Create blends between the black and white rectangles. Create a black rectangle at the top to frame the white rectangles. All right, so let's just do that. So we need 12 point by 12 point squares. We could actually just copy this rectangle here. So Command Shift Move, and then using the Move tool, type in -12 for the horizontal value and 0 for the vertical value. Copy. Well, that's not exactly what we wanted. That's right. So this object is still part of a blend. What we'll want to do then is just maybe undo that, Command Z. So instead of that, I'm going to start fresh, create a 12 by 12 rectangle. So I can click on anywhere in this artboard. Click, type in 12 by 12 width and height, and then click on OK. So now we have our 12 point by 12 point square. Now click on the direct selection tool, and I have all of the anchor points in this object selected. So I can click and drag on the bottom right point, and then click and drag until the cursor lights up with white in the middle, showing me that I'm snapping to a point, and then let go. Great. So now, option clicking on this bottom left corner, I can click and then drag over to the other side. Good. So that's kind of what I wanted right there. But what I'm going to do is create a gradation from white to black. So with the Shift and Option key selected, I can select both of these rectangles now, and then Option click and drag from the bottom left point of the left rectangle, and then drag up until we snap to point, and then let go. This time I'm going to change to the fill color, and then change that color to the default white in the color palette. Perfect. So at this point, I'm going to do the same thing again with the bottom to black squares. So option click on one square to select all of the anchor points in that shape, then add the Shift key. So we've got Shift and Option held down, and click on the black box on the right side. So this time I am going to Option click and then drag all the way to the top until I can't see that white object, but I know it's there. So I'm going to let go right at the snap to point at that top corner of the white rectangle and let go. So now I've copied those two squares. Now all I need to do is blend in between these two objects. So Option Shift and click on the white square to make sure I've got both of those objects selected. Select the blend tool and then click on the bottom left anchor point of the black square, and then Option click on the bottom left anchor point of the white square. This time I want a different number of steps, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps in between there. So I'll type in 5 and then click OK. So now we have a gradation that perfectly aligns with all of the other rectangles. So we'll do this for the other side as well. So select both squares and I'll click on the, whoops, right. So maybe I'm going to have to release that. So if there are other blends already being applied to these objects. I'm going to need to release them. I'm not sure actually why that's happening. Let's try that again. Click, and then Option click. Okay. Oh, okay, that's fine. I must have had another object selected. So then right across the top I'm going to need a rectangle. So I can just select the rectangle tool. I've got black selected. Here's where I went wrong. What I forgot to do was actually change these colors from what they were, 80% cyan, 100% magenta, and 100% black. I can change those now to the proper values, making sure it's just 100% black. And the same thing for these blends. I can change these now, selecting those objects and then changing them. And that will automatically apply those colors to the interpolated colors in between, which is awesome. That's what I want. So now I can select this black square and then deselect. What that does is whatever color was the last thing that I selected will be the color that is applied to the next shape that I create. So using the rectangle tool, I am going to click from this top point down to this bottom point, and if I let go, I should have an object that is 300 points wide by 12 points deep. And it's properly positioned, so that's it. I've completed the entire exercise. So everything is properly on the chart layer. If I turn it off, the circles layer is on its own layer, and the star layer is its own layer as well. That's exactly what I wanted, so I'm just going to Command S, and that completes the exercise. Thanks for following along.